Let's now set up the model classes and JUnit tests for version number 1. And for this video, we're only going to declare the method headers and also classes, and also to write the JUnit tests before we actually do the implementation using array list in the next video. So remember, we always want to document what to be achieved using JUnit tests as opposed to doing coding right away. So you really want to get used to writing test cases to begin with. All right, so let's now go on to the model class. And I'm just going to follow very closely about the conceptual example that we did together in the previous video. And then let's now create a model class for birthday. So for each birthday objects, it should really contain the month and also the day. And for simplicity, I can simply use integer, just 1 up to 12, with the assumption that you're not going to give any invalid month integers. Okay, if you want to do any more error checking, you can do that as some extra exercise for yourself. All right, so let's now first of all do a model class called birthday. Let's go back here, and then right-click the model package and say new class, and then we want to do birthday. Okay, over here. And then for now, I don't need to implement just yet. I just want to declare like what methods or what constructors I want to have, right? First of all, we want to have a constructor. So we can say public, and then birthday. And then whenever we create a new instance for the birthday, what should we give? We should give the month and also the day. So integer month and integer day. And with the assumption that month and day will always be given as valid integers and also valid combination of the integers. So we don't really do any error checking, but realistically, you should really do error checking, but that will be left as exercise for you. And what accessor or mutator should we actually do? Let me maximize this. We can say that once you assign the month and day to a particular birthday objects, you shouldn't change it, let's say. And you can only get access to 1 month and 1 day are for that particular birthday objects. So we can say public integer, let's say get month, with no parameters over here. And by default, we can just return -1 just for now. Okay. And also public integer get day, and that one will also return by default just -1. Okay, so it's a simple class, and we can do the implementation a little bit later. Okay, let's now just declare all the necessary classes and methods, and then we'll write the JUnit tests to actually show exactly what we expect them to work, and then we'll make it work in the next video. Okay, the second model class we should have will be a BirthdayBook class, right? Remember, we spoke about the context object BB over here being of type BirthdayBook, right? However, eventually we're going to have 2 versions of the BirthdayBook. One version using array list, the other version using hash table. So we better give some unique names to each one of them. So maybe call that BirthdayBook V1 version 1, and also BirthdayBook V2 for version 2. Let's do that. For now, we just do BirthdayBook version 1. So new class BirthdayBook, let's say V1 for version 1. And we'll say finish over here. Okay, so this will be the version where we're going to use array list, but let's not worry about array list just yet. We'll worry about what methods to use in the next video. But for now, let's just declare the methods, accessors and mutators. Let's now, first of all, we need a constructor. Okay, so let's say public, and then actually not void, public, and then it should be of the same name as the class, right? Let's say there will be no input parameters. We'll simply create some empty BirthdayBook. So we can do some code over here rather than just assigning everything by default to null or to the default value for primitive types. So we want to do something here later. So that would be the constructor. And then what methods do we want? If you recall from the previous illustration, we want get size, get birthday, add birthday, remove birthday, and also remind. So these are the methods we want to create for the BirthdayBook class. Okay, and then we're going to write JUnit tests for them. Okay, the first one, we want to say get size. So public integer get size with no parameter. So this will tell you how many entries are there in the BirthdayBook, right? And by default, we should say, maybe just say return -1 just for now. Let's now document this over here. Let me just put a little bit better. Okay, so now return the number of entries in the birthday book. And when we say entries, each of which each entry containing a name and a birthday, right? Conceptually, right? We got a name mapped to its corresponding birthday. All right, so the second method, okay, you can also look at your notes, should be get birthday. So public, and also what should we return from the get birthday? Well, we should return the corresponding birthday objects from the birthday book. So birthday should be the birthday objects, and then get birthday. And then, so here, what should be the input? Input should be, for example, Jim or Jeremy, the name of the person. Okay, let's now document this. Okay, let's say return the birthday of the person with whose name is the input name. If the input name does not exist, in that case, return null. And by default, let's simply just return null. Okay, at least we make it compile, and we'll fill in the implementation later. Okay, let me just put it all the way to the center over here. Okay, next method, you should be add and remove birthday, right? So here, let's say public, let's say void, it's a mutator, add birthday, and whenever we want to add a birthday, we want to add entry. Essentially, what should be the entry containing? It should be the string name over here, and also birthday, and also birthday, right? It's a mutator over here, and we can make some assumption over here. Let's say the assumption is input name does not exist in the birthday book. Yeah, so if you recall the previous example over here, when we try to add the birthday over here for Suyang, so now we in this case, Suyang must not exist already in the birthday book. That's why we can add a new entry for Suyang mapped to some birthday, right? It's something important. But whether the date birthday exists or not doesn't matter, right? We just have to make sure the domain for the birthday book must be unique. So we want to make sure every time we add a new birthday, the name must be a new addition to the domain. Okay. All right, let's now go on a little bit further. Let's say, what about remove the birthday, right? We can say public and also void remove birthday. And then let's say string name, and also that's it. Right? We don't really need, for example, here when you say remove birthday Alan, that should be sufficient. You don't really have to say remove birthday Alan together with his birthday over here, because every time it's a mathematical function, formally speaking. So as long as you can pass some valid domain value over here, it can uniquely identify a mapping that will map to the corresponding birthday. So that'll be enough information for us just by giving the name. You don't really need to give both the name and birthday. It would be redundant. All right, let's now go back here. And then this will be also a mutator. And let's now also make some assumption, okay, just for simplicity. Assumption over here, let's say input name exists in the birthday book. So now if you look at these two operations, they're kind of the opposite to each other, right? That's why the assumptions are also opposite to each other. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so now let's now go the final one is called remind over here. So the remind is going to take some birthday over here, either exist or does not exist in the birthday book, and then it's going to remind us about which friends actually got their birthday on this particular day, right? And then let's say we just make it why don't we just simply just make it an array over here, right? Just make it something that we're familiar with. Okay, why don't we say returning a array of names. So we can say public, and then string array over here, right? Don't forget how you can write the one-dimensional array syntax. And then we'll say remind. And the remind is actually going to take one single parameter, which will be the birthday. Birthday, and then let's say birthday over here. Okay, let's say return null over here. Right? So here, the assumption would be, actually the assumption is there's no assumption about the birthday. The birthday either exists in the birthday book or does not exist. In the case it does not exist in the birthday book, pretty much like this case over here. November 13 does not exist over here. So the return array of names to remind will just be empty, right? So we don't need to put any assumption here, right? No assumption is actually needed. So let me just get rid of it. All right, so these are all the methods we want to implement, right? And before I do the JUnit test, let me do one more thing before I forget. I may just want to maybe copy this particular class over here. I can save that, get ready for version number 2 eventually later. And I can simply paste, copy and paste, and just version number 2. Okay, so version number 1 will be array list. Version number 2 will be hash table. We'll go with this sequence. All right, so now before I dive into implementing these two classes, it's important to document exactly what we want. So why don't we go to JUnit tests over here and new JUnit test case over here. And I can just call that maybe tests. Or I can say test birthday book. Like that. And make sure you choose JUnit 4. And then finish. And then we have to add JUnit 4 library into the build path over here. And say OK. All right. And then let's now do a test over here. I can just combine everything into a single test just for simplicity. But for you to practice on your own, you can actually split the large test case into individual small test cases. It's kind of up to you. But for simplicity, I'm just going to use a single comprehensive test. Okay. Let me say test 01 over here. All right. So I'm going to do something very similar to this particular setup over here. However, the only thing I haven't really shown in this particular example over here was I didn't really show how exactly do we build this particular setup to begin with. So that means I need to add 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4 people's entries actually into the birthday book before I can actually do this fragment of code, right? So that's something I will do together with you. But just remember, that's kind of the setup we want to do for both version 1 and version 2. All right, so now let's add, so let's say this. Let's now document this quickly. So add 4 entries into the birthday book. Before that, we need to create an empty one, okay? Create an empty birthday book. So what we can do is we can say, we can use birthday book. Right, so now you can see if you say control space. So now we can use either version 1 or version 2. Let's say we do version 1. For version 2, later we can just copy and paste and adapt. Let's say version 1 over here, and you can make sure that, so now you can see model.birthdaybook v1, right? Or alternatively, you can simply put a star over here. So that means we might use all the classes from the model package. I think that'll be better. Okay, and then let's say BB. Standing for birthday book, you can see that's exactly the BB that we spoke about in the conceptual explanation there. Right, let's go back. Right, it would be new birthday book v1 over here, creating empty one. So what can we say about empty one? The empty birthday book, the size should be simply 0. Let's check it quickly. Assert equals 0 and then bb.get size, right? Hopefully for simple test cases like this, you will be able to write by yourself, right? We have seen many examples so far throughout the semester. Hopefully, learning by doing, you're ready to learn how to do it. All right, so now let's add 4 entries into the birthday book. Let's say which 4. Okay, so we're gonna do, I will type it together with you and just put it all the way here. So let's say the first one will be Alan. So we can say bb.add birthday. So that should be Alan. And for the birthday, we can use anonymous objects, right? We learned about anonymous objects. We can say new birthday over here. and then it should be May 21st. So I'm using exactly this diagram over here, Alan, Mark, Tom, and Jim, and also these 3 birthdays. That's what I'm doing here. All right. Okay, so that will be the first entry. What about the second one? We're going to do 4 eventually, and we need 4 names, Alan, Mark, Tom, and also Jim. And for the birthday over here, it's going to be basically Alan, Mark, Tom, and Jim. So it's kind of up to you if you want to use anonymous objects. So you're going to create 4 different objects, or maybe you can actually, for saving the space a little bit, we can especially you can see here we actually got Mark and Tom. They actually got the same birthday, August 11. So it's kind of up to you if you want to create 2 separate birthday objects for August 11, one for Tom and one for Mark. Or you can actually let them share the same birthday object. We can do that as well. So why don't we do that to save the space a little bit, okay? Let me just do this. Okay, let's say, but you already know how to use anonymous objects here. So I'll just, you can just take a notes over here. Let me just leave one of them. Let's say birthday over here. Let's say birthday 1, which will be, let's say here, let's say BD1, new birthday 5 and 21 and 2, 3, and 4. Oh, actually only 3. Okay, so BD1, BD2, BD3. Okay, so May 21st, August 11th, and also October 15th. October 15th over here. All right, it's kind of up to you which version you like. You can either use anonymous objects throughout, or you can simply pass the birthday objects, because the way we're going to check the birthday when we do searches, we're just going to check individually for the month and day. So it's not going to make a difference. Okay, so I'll leave that to you. But you can, let me just use this version over here. So for Alan, it's going to be BD1. And then for Mark and Tom, it's going to be BD2. BD2. And for Jim, it's going to be BD3. All right, so these are the 4 entries we added, right? You can also use anonymous object as I showed to you earlier. All right, so now we're going to do some queries. So now, what if we get the size for the birthday book, right? So now if I just copy this assertion over here, after adding all the 4 entries over here, so now the size should be actually 4. Agree? Alan, Mark, Tom, and Jim. And then, so now we're going to inquire about the birthday. Okay, so now let's try 2 cases. So now we can try some existing name, and also we can try some non-existing name. So now we can say assert equals over here. You know what? I think it would be better to do it this way. Let's say birthday over here. Let's say Jim birthday is assigned to. So here we can say bb dot get birthday over here, and then we can say Jim. So what would be the birthday for Jim? Okay, so the birthday for Jim will be BD3, which is October 15th, right? And I would suggest we actually try to make sure it's really the correct day and also month, right? It's not really a good idea for this particular course to compare the return object just by reference. It may work in some cases. However, in general, you got to be careful. You have to use an equals method for objects, but we don't cover that in this course. You'll learn about it in your 2030, the second year course. Okay, so that's a return value. So we can say assert true over here. So here we can say Jim birthday dot get month. For example, it's actually October 15, right? Is equal to 10. And also Jim birthday dot get day equals and also 5. Remember the public accessor we defined for the birthday class, right? And also, what about the birthday for Jeremy? But Jeremy does not exist in the birthday book, so should be returning null for the birthday. So we can say assert null over here, and then we can say bb.get birthday, and then simply give Jeremy over here. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you. So that's about the inquiry for the birthday. And the next one, what if we want to add just another birthday, Suyang, right? We can just add another one. Add another entry into the birthday book. Okay, and then over here we're gonna say, let's say bb dot add birthday, right? So we'll say Suyang, and also what will be the birthday over here? So the birthday should be May 21st, right? So let me just use maybe a new object, doesn't matter. Here, so new birthday over here, because every time when we actually get a birthday back, and also when we search for the birthday, we're always going to explicitly compare the month and also the day over here explicitly, so we can make sure, even though the birthday objects might be different, but the contents will be the same when we do such comparison using by comparing the attributes. Okay, when I visualize that, I'll visualize this particularly for you, but we'll do that later. Okay, for Suyang, we're gonna do May and 21st, so that'll be 5 and 21. And notice one thing over here. So here we say May 21st over here, right? How what we could have done was May 21st would be actually over here, BD1. We could have said BD1 over here, but as I said, the way we do search and the way we compare birthday that's returned wouldn't really matter. Okay, so that's fine. All right, and then after this, we can assert something very quickly. So now the size for the birthday book should now has increased to number 5, right? So we got 5 entries. All right, and let's see how we can remove a birthday, right? Let's say remove an entry associated with the input name, right? Let's say we want to remove the birthday entry for Alan. So we can say bb dot remove birthday, and then we put Alan over here. Okay, and we can simply check to see, number 1, so the size should be decreased to actually 4. And also over here, 4. Okay, and then if I want to inquire about the birthday for Alan, so Alan does not exist anymore. So that should be null. Right, so that's kind of the sort of stuff you can check. All right, finally, let's now do reminders. So let's see this. Get reminders of names of people whose birthdays are the given day, the given birthday, something like that. All right, let's do the 2 examples. So one would be, let's say August 11. So if I say bb.remind, let's say new birthday over here, August 11, and if you take a look at how we did the setup over here, August 11 is basically BD2. Who actually got a birthday for BD2? You can see these are the 2 person, right? Mark and also Tom, right? So what we can do is we can actually say bb.remind August 11. Good. And then what should be the return value, right? It's going to return something. Remember, it's going to return a string array. So let's say reminders 1. Right? It's assigned to the return value, which is an array of string. Okay. And let's say we're just going to get, for the case of the array list, we can actually assume that the order of returning the reminders will be corresponding to the order in which we actually add in the record. So this should be Mark followed by Tom. That's what we can assume. However, for hash table, it may not be the case in general. We'll see how that goes. But for now, let's just use just use the order that correspond to correspond to the order in which we add in the names, which will be Mark followed by Tom. Let's say that. All right, so now let's say string array, let's say expected reminders 1 will just be over here. It should be Mark followed by Tom. Okay, and then we can say assert equals over here. Okay, so now you can see expected value and then the actual value. Okay, so it makes sense, right? Oh, it should be, oh, since we're comparing arrays, right? So it should be assert array equals like that. Okay. All right, so then, and then we are just going to copy and paste, do another one. Let's say, so let's now change this to be reminders 2, and also 2 here, and also 2 here. And for the second example, we're going to do November 13th, which doesn't exist. November and also 13th over here. And then the expected reminder should be just empty, because nobody in the birthday book actually got their birthdays on November 13th. All right, so that should be empty. Okay, I believe there's no typo over here. We'll see, but exactly at least that's how we're gonna proceed for now. Okay, so that will be the test case that we kind of document exactly how we expect the birthday book to work, and then for the subsequent videos, we're gonna develop 2 versions for the birthday book. So the first version using array list, and the second version using hash table, and we're gonna see if there's any adaptation we need for the JUnit tests, then we'll do that. All right, so that's about it. And let's now move on to version number 1.